Welcome. You are just in time for an adventure that continues where we left off last time with Abraham. This time we'll talk about his son, Isaac, and his grandsons, Jacob and Esau, and how this one family's history is the prequel to the path to freedom for the Israelites, Passover.
We left off at the end of the 22nd chapter of Genesis after laying the foundations of the birth of the nations. That from the flood of Noah, we trace the lineage of the family of Shem through Abraham, and now we find that the Almighty speaks directly to Abraham several times during his life, and the culminating event was when the Almighty told him to sacrifice, to kill the child that he was given by promise. And this was the ultimate test in Abraham's life. If he has really heard from the Almighty all these other times before, then if he is obedient to actually sacrifice his son, then he will see that this is a reality, that the promise of the Almighty, that all of the land from the Euphrates to the Nile belongs to Abraham and to his offspring. He knows that this will come to pass if the Almighty has actually spoken to him. And so he went to the children of Het, and he said, entreat for me to Ephron, the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field, and for as much money as it is worth, he shall give it to me. And Ephron, in verse 11, says, nay, my lord, hear me. The field, I'm going to give it to you. And the cave that is therein, I will give it to you. Now, this is not a natural cave. This is one that is chiseled out so that they can actually make a sepulcher in it. These are all over the land of Israel. As a matter of fact, at the garden tomb, which you can't see from the garden tomb, but right on the other side of the wall where this cave has been chiseled out, which fits in every description, the burial place of Yeshua. Right on the other side of that is the richest and the largest tomb system in all of the land of Israel.
The garden tomb is the possible site of the resurrection of Jesus, Yeshua, and the final resting place of Joseph of Arimathea. There is some debate between different denominations and academic scholars as to where exactly in Jerusalem and the Old City was Yeshua crucified, and where lies the tomb from whence he rose. The tomb is located on the north side of Jerusalem, outside the Damascus Gate, which closely resembles the location described in the Gospels.
And then we come back in verse 12. And he says, I pray you, hear me. I will give you money for the field. Take it from me, and I will bury my dead. And then finally, Ephron comes back, and he says, the land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What's that between me and you? Just bury your dead in it. Now, in chapter 24, now we come to a very important thing to understand, and we have to understand this. We're going to understand the book of Hebrews even. Abraham was old, well stricken in age. Yehovah had blessed Abraham, but Abraham said to his eldest servant, Eliezer, who ruled over all that he had, he says, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh. Now, this is different than a last will and testament, because and we're going to see that this testimony that is being taken, this sworn oath that is happening, well, let's read about it first. In verse 3, I will make you swear by Yehovah, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that you will not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites. Do not get one of these perverts and their offspring, their women, to be the wife of my son. No, you are going to go back to my country, back to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. And so he then made him swear this oath. Now, he said, now, what if I go back and the damsel will not follow me, will not come back? And Abraham said, then you are released from this oath. Because the Almighty had already instructed Abraham. He had given him revelation to not allow his son, Itzhak, to marry a Canaanite. Send one back and get someone from your household back in Syria, where you're from originally. That is where you go. Someone who knows something about the true God. We're going to see the reality of this in just a little bit.
If you've ever read the Bible and found things that didn't line up, or heard a sermon that left you with more questions than answers, the Chronological Gospels is for you, including the world's most accurate timeline of the Messiah's 70-week ministry, plus study tools never seen in any other Bible. The Chronological Gospels unlocks the secrets to understanding the Word of God. Gospel accounts are reorganized and annotated using amazingly accurate historical records, along with exclusive cultural commentary. Available on its own, the Chronological Gospels also comes in several packages, including videos and books, study tools to enrich your rediscovery of the Messiah's ministry, the Chronological Gospels Educator's Edition, Essentials Package, and Scholar Package. Call or visit our website today for more information and to order your copy of the Chronological Gospels.
And so, at this point, if the damsel, if this young virgin doesn't follow Eliezer back, he's off the hook. This is not a last will and testament. It can be changed, and it can be changed by circumstances. He knows that he's got to go back up to Haran, and he's got to make a big impression. So he takes 10 camels, he loads them up with clothing and with jewels, and with gold and with silver. And so when he got up to the city of Nahor in Mesopotamia on the other side of the Euphrates, he stopped and he prayed. In verse 12, O Yehovah, Elohim of my master Abraham, I pray, send me good speed this day. Behold, I am standing here by the well of water. And when the daughters of men come out of the city to draw water, let it come to pass that the damsel whom shall I say to, I pray, give me something to drink, that this one will say, after she gives me a drink, let me then water these 10 camels who have been traveling for a week to get there, and they are going to be extremely thirsty. It is going to be a long and a hard job to draw all this water for this man of dignity, this man of wealth, and she is going to offer to serve me. And let this be the one who you have chosen to be the bride for Itzhak, the son of my master. And it came to pass, before he had even finished the prayer, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, which we had just read about in the previous chapter. Now Rebekah shows up. And he looks at her, and this girl is an absolute knockout. She gives him a drink, and she then says, allow me to water your camels as well. And so he then immediately begins to pray, a prayer of thanksgiving. And she says, please come to our place. We have provender enough. We have enough straw for the bedding for your camels and all. Please come. And so then Eliezer goes into the house of Bethuel, and Laban, her brother, is there, and he explains the entire thing, that Abraham is extremely wealthy, and he has a son. And he said, go back to my kindred and find a wife. And so I was praying at the well, and these are the specifications. This is what I asked for, and this is exactly what Rebekah came out and did. And so I put this extremely expensive gold bracelet on her because I didn't want this girl to get away. And she said, please come to my house. And so here I am. And when they heard it, Bethuel and Laban said, this is of Yehovah. There is no question. What can we say? And then they said, she's yours. And then he said, please, I would like to leave immediately tomorrow. And they said, well, let's have at least a week of festivities. And he said, no, please don't cause me to slacken time. And so they went to Rebekah, and she said, yes, I will go. They gave her some servants to go with her. These were wealthy people too. And so then they get back. They're nearing the area where Itzhak lives and Abraham. And at that point, Itzhak goes out in the field. And she sees him from afar and says, who is this? And they said, this is your master. This is your future husband. And so she lights off the camel, covers her face up, and it tells us that she went to meet her intended. And it says in verse 67 of chapter 24, and Itzhak brought her into his mother's tent, took Rebekah, and she became his wife. So there you have a fairly fancy wedding ceremony. He takes her into the tent, and now she is his wife.
Like a father yearning to hear the voice of his children, the Almighty loves to hear your prayers. The Bible says your prayers are like the sweet aroma of incense rising to heaven, a pleasing scent to the King of Kings. Right now, you can enhance your prayer times with incense, yours free when you give to the ministry of A Rood Awakening International. For your donation, Michael Rood will send you an exquisite brass incense burner and 3 sets of high-quality incense. Handcrafted in elegant detail, this beautiful piece of art is sure to be a conversation starter about your faith and your prayer life. And the incense you receive is just like the incense used in the Bible, prepared in the tradition of the ancients from the finest spices in the Middle East. Call today or visit our website to receive your incense and incense burner, free with your donation during the month of May to A Rood Awakening International.
And then in verse 19, these are the generations of Itzhak. Abraham's son Itzhak, he was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, and then when she was 60 years old, that is when she bore Esau and Yaakov. Esau, he came back from a hunting trip, and he smelled the pottage that this little red lentils that Yaakov had been cooking, and he says, I'm going to starve to death. I obviously didn't get any game. I'm going to starve to death if you don't feed me. And so Yaakov got him to swear to give up his right as the firstborn, and the blessings that come, the right of the firstborn, and the double portion that would come to him if he would feed him right then. And so it says that he treated as nothing his birthright because he had to fill his belly. And that was more important to him, satisfying his own earthly desires, than the blessing that he would get as a double portion at the end of his father's life. And Itzhak told Esau, I want you to go out, and I want you to get some venison. I want you to kill a deer, come back and roast it up for me, make it the way you make it because I love it, and then I'm going to bless you before I die. And so Rivkah overheard this. She said to him, go and kill 2 goats and bring them in. And I'm going to fix it up, and you're going to go in and serve it and get the blessing from your father. He said, he'll know the difference. And she said, give me the goat skins. And so they put the goat skins on the back of his hand, on the back of his neck. I mean, Esau had to be one hairy person for goat skin to be the thing that actually fools the blind Itzhak. And so Rivkah, who starts this whole thing, makes up the food, and then Yaakov goes in. And then once it's done, it's done. And so Esau comes back and he says, I prepared this. And he said, wait, who is this that was in beforehand? And Esau, they figure out finally that it's Yaakov that did this. And he already took the blessing. And so Esau is absolutely furious, and it says that in verse 41 that Esau hated Yaakov because of the blessing that his father blessed him with. And he willingly gave up his birthright because of it, so he blessed him and he charged him. He said, do not take a wife of the daughters of the Canaanites. Do not do it. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. So he said, go find one of your cousins. And again, Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Itzhak his father. And so we see over and over and over this whole thing with Canaan, the Canaanites, which takes us back to Genesis 9 where we began the whole story. It is one story. We have to read it all together. That's why we stick to it and boil these things down to where we understand what the Almighty is communicating to us, because he's communicating to us now. We are living among the heathens, among the pagans, but he says, come out and be separate. Come out from these people and be separate, and touch not the unclean thing. And on the way, Yaakov dreamed a dream, and the ladder reached up into heaven, and the Almighty again came and he spoke to him. And he again reiterated that this land would be theirs. Now, Yaakov rose up in the morning, in verse 18, took the stone that he put for a pillow, he set it up for a pillar, as a memorial pillar, an altar. And this is what we see. Every time the Almighty is speaking to one of these patriarchs, they set up an altar to remember that place. And the children of Israel are told, do not remove these altars. Do not take down these pillars. Do not remove the ancient landmarks when you come into the land. You have no idea what they're there for. He knows what they're there for. And they still are there to this day.
The altars mentioned were usually built to commemorate a direct interaction with God in a specific location, typically after a significant event. Usually created from earth or unwrought stone, they served as a surface to place a sacrifice to God.
And now chapter 29. Then Yaakov went on his journey and came to the people of the east, and he found himself in Haran. In verse 5, he said, as he met these people who are out there waiting for the stone to be removed over this well so that they can water their sheep, he said, do you know Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, well, we know him well. And he said, is he well? And they said, he is well, as they spoke by the well. And then he said, no, look, there's Rachel. Rachel, his daughter, is coming with his sheep right now. Isn't this a coincidence? And when he saw Rachel, he absolutely flipped out. The man is 75 years old. This girl is a knockout, an absolute knockout, just like the rest of the women in the family. And he is just head over heels for her. He then goes to Laban and says, I'm in love with your daughter. I will work for you for 7 years and give her to me as my wife. And so he worked for 7 years, and at the end of it, they had this is a big wedding ceremony. Now, if he would have done it the way his father did it, and taken her into the tent, this following thing would not have ensued. But no doubt that night that Laban made sure that he was just a little bit 3 sheets to the wind, having a little bit too much celebration, and he got it all prepared. And so when he went into the tent to then meet with his new wife, when he woke up in the morning, it was Leah, the older daughter, who says she had weak eyes. This is not the woman he had the marriage ceremony with the night before. It's Leah. And so he goes to Laban, you've tricked me. You've tricked me. And he said, well, we can't allow the younger to get married before the older. That's the way we do it here. And so he says, fulfill her week, and then we'll give you Rivka as well. And so this is what happened. After the week, then they gave Rivka to him, and she became his wife, and then he had to work for 7 more years after that. Well, at the end of this period of time, we see that between Rachel and Leah, and their two handmaids, which is Bilhah and Zilpah, that they have, in the end, they have 12 sons. And but while they're still living in Padamaran, they have 11 of these sons. And during this period of time, it says that Laban changed the remuneration of Yaakov, had done it 10 times. And finally, his wives said, you know, he has devoured all of our money. He has sold us out. He's devoured all of our money, and we have got absolutely nothing. He has run you over the coals over and over. Get us out of here. And so Yaakov takes his wives, all the possessions that he has, and escapes while his father-in-law is out shearing the sheep. He is gone. He's left for a whole week, and then he finds out, and so he chases them down. Laban chases him down, and when he catches up with him, he said, why have you stolen my sons and daughters? He's speaking grandsons and granddaughters and his daughters. Why have you stolen them? And he explains why he stole them and why he had to get out of there. Yaakov said, no, we didn't steal them. And if anyone did, may he be cursed with death. Well, he didn't know that Rivkah, his beloved wife, had stolen these gods. And so she put him in a case. She went in and sat down on top of that case and said, excuse me, Father, I can't get up right now. I'm in the way of all women. And so he moved on. But it was Yaakov that pronounced the curse over his wife. And when she then entered into the land on their way to Ephrat, which is also called Beit Lechem, the house of bread, but on the way to Ephrat, there she bore her last child, Benjamin, and died. And he set up a pillar there, which you can still, right from the top of the hill, you can still look down upon that.
Jenny, you mentioned that your favorite antioxidant is glutathione. I did a quick Google search on this crucial amino acid and found over 200,000 articles in PubMed. Why is glutathione so important?
Our immune system and detoxification system cannot function without glutathione. Glutathione is your body's most powerful antioxidant, and it is present in every living cell. As our bodies age, it loses the ability to effectively counteract and neutralize free radicals, disease-causing damaged cells. Glutathione has been clinically proven to maximize the metabolism of antioxidants, thus neutralizing and disposing of the free radicals. Addressing glutathione levels has been clinically proven to prevent and treat HIV, AIDS, Alzheimer's, asthma, cancers, cataracts, chronic fatigue, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, fibromyalgia, autism, and seizures. By keeping our intercellular glutathione levels up, we are ensuring that our cells are fully armed so we can prevent disease and age gracefully.
Thanks, Jenny. To learn more about glutathione, go to www.aroodawakening.tv/body, soul, spirit.
And Laban said in verse 48 of chapter 31, this heap is a witness between me and you this day. And he said, Yehovah, watch between me and thee when we are absent one from another. And so Yaakov continued on his way and sent messengers unto Esau. And these messengers, they had all of these 200 she-goats, 20 he-goats, 100 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milch camels in their coats, 40 kine or cattle, and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses. And he sent these people ahead to Esau and sent his servants in, and when you come across Esau, as he's coming out with 400 armed men against this family, with all these children, 400 men coming out, and when they say, whose are these? Who do they belong to? These belong to Esau. They are a gift from his brother. And so he travels on, and then after a few hours, another load of livestock goes by. Whose are they? Who do they belong to? They're your brothers, and it's a gift to you. And finally, at the end, it's Yaakov, who has divided his family and put his most beloved wife and youngest son, Joseph, at the very end, and divided them into two, because if one of them gets killed, the others can escape. And they've got signals worked out in case they attack one, then the rest take off and get out of here. Well, that night, the Almighty met and wrestled. The angel wrestled with Yaakov and then renamed him Israel at that point. And so now we have Esau and Yaakov coming together. Esau hugging his brother Yaakov and reuniting their friendship. And now we are going to see what transpires in this land filled with Canaanite perversion as Yaakov and his family establish themselves in the very land where they're told to go back and remain there.
Thanks for watching Passover, the Path to Freedom. Next week, we'll continue the journey as we learn about the Hebrew who saved all Egypt, Joseph. Until then, it's been an adventure.